Cool. So welcome everyone for distribution team demo on 13th of April 2023. Uh, Essentially, this is not a demo in the literal sense because I don't have anything to show. I just mostly wanted to discuss about a topic that or an issue that bites us every now and then, and something that we need to find a solution for. So essentially, when we are building uh, omnibus GitLab packages or PNG images, uh, most of our components or many of our components are built from a Git repository. So we do a Git clone, we check out to the specific tag or branch and then build off that. But some components we still build off tarballs that are provided by upstreams, either in a configured format or in a pre-built binary format or as plain source, which we download, extract, and then build using the normal build from source procedure. So one of the problems that we have faced in the past is upstream download locations can be unreliable. Like they can go down all of a sudden. And if our cache is not warm enough that we have to download a specific component again, and if the upstream has gone down, this technically has the potential to block a release. Like that's the worst that can happen. A security release is happening and source falls is down. We can't get a release out. So we essentially need to dial down our dependency on these external sources for building our packages. For Git repositories, we already have a process in place using the omnibus mirror group, where we mirror the upstream repositories and we actually build from those repositories, our mirrors instead of the actual upstream ones. So we essentially need to do something similar for tarballs. And one of the things that I tried mostly as a POC was using a tool named usecan, which is what Debian uses officially to handle the newer releases of the type of the components that has been packaged for Debian. So it essentially it's a tool that goes to a specific website, looks for a list of links to tarballs, find the one with the latest version, downloads it, and does some processing that we ask it to do, like renaming stuff, repackage it by excluding certain files, and all those shiny things. So this is a tool that Debian uses for the official packaging work. Like you have a configuration file where you say where to find these links, how will they be named after downloading what to do, and it can do additional stuff like, hey, here is a like PGP SHASM file. After downloading, go verify if the SHASM is same as what is mentioned in this file and all those stuff. So uh, I'll actually share my screen and show a sample configuration file. Okay. So yeah, this is a configuration file for downloading the software GNU PG. So in this example, I haven't used any of the like cryptographic verification methods or anything. Version 4 is the latest version of the format of this watch file. PGP mode none is an option. Like I am not using any cryptographic capabilities. So the third line is the important one here. Essentially, you give a link where you can find tarballs. This portion is essentially how the tarball will be named. So at package at any version and at archivex at our magic keywords, uh, they they respond to like the package version the package name that we passed as the command line argument to the use scan tool. Any version is literally matches any commonly used version string formats. Archivex matches the commonly used file extensions like tar.gz, zip, bzip2, all those stuff. 0.0 is essentially a hack. So I mentioned that this is basically written for Debian packaging. So for Debian packaging, the knowledge of which version is the latest, like Debian already has version X, the use can needs to find versions newer than X. So that information of which version Debian already has is stored in a different file, and use can is like hard coded to look at that file to find out the most recent version that Debian already has. So by saying 0.0 in the configuration file, we are asking usecan to download anything newer than 0.0. So essentially, find the latest version. So this is circumventing usecan's original intent of usage, that is for Debian packaging. So this is essentially a like common configuration file that works for most of the software components. But then there are some software components where they do some tweaking on the tarball file name. An example is libyaml. So if you are to download the libyaml tarball, while the software name is libyaml, the tarball itself is named YAML a version string .tar.json. So instead of using the keyword at package at, here we have to like say, okay, even though the software name is libyaml, you have to search for just YAML. The remaining stuff all remains like same. You can match a version, any version, and then match any extension kind of thing, like any file extension. So, and in this demo project, I run a job in CI, which goes through each of these software components and which goes through each of these software components and run a usecan command. Usecan like hash like dash package. So this is the name of the package that gets used as at package at magic string. Then we point out where the watch file is, where to download the tarball to, all those stuff. So essentially what this project does right now is go through this list of software components, download the latest version available, push it to the generic registry of GitLab. So once it is in the generic registry of GitLab, we can modify our build process in Omnibus GitLab and CNG to fetch these tarballs from this specific location rather than upstream tarballs. So right now the project is mostly POC, like I haven't added any deduplication stuff like do not download it again if it is already the latest version available in GitLab registry and stuff like that. We can do that. But so for PUC, just see a job that goes through everything and pushes everything to the registry, and they have a scheduled pipeline which does the same. So one of the downsides for this is we don't have like this project at its current implementation does not have a way to do like one-off downloads. Like I do not want the latest version of Grafana. Just get me this specific version of Grafana because that is what I want to bundle in Omnibus GitLab. So we don't have a way to do that by this project yet. One can always manually download the tarball and push it to the generic registry so that it can be used in Omnibus GitLab. But so that is one of the downsides we have here. And two, this will actually download all the versions of the software components. Sometimes we are jumping multiple versions at a time. Like for example, Prometheus. We might be jumping like 3-4 minor versions of Prometheus at a time to handle a number of security vulnerabilities. But still, this project will download and store every individual version that has been released after the like every individual version that has been released. So it can be a waste of space and waste of compute doing that. So I'll actually stop sharing. So yeah, essentially that's all I wanted to introduce. So there is a project that does this. I added everything from Omnibus GitLab, which uses a tarball or which work without spending more than 10 minutes on it. So, and as far as I can tell, when stuff is in the generic registry and the project is public, we can download it directly via wget or curl. So we can use it directly in Omnibus GitLab or CNG. But yeah, essentially this is a POC. So if we are interested in using this, I think we can like clean up the code base, add some more abilities to it so that we reduce wastage of compute, wastage of resources and stuff. And we can switch Omnibus and CNG to use this. However, we might have to add some way of like falling back. What have the always existing question of what if gitlab.com is down and we want to build a package to bring gitlab.com up again. So we still need to have a alternative way of downloading stuff. But other than that, I think at least the problem that this project solves is a real one that we have to solve sooner than later because we have been bitten by SourceForge going down at very crucial moments and releases being blocked by that. So essentially that's all I wanted to show. If you have any questions or comments, please share.
Where are the tarballs stored?
So GitLab has a generic package registry which can store any type of file. So that doesn't go to our supported package registries like container registry or NuGet or Maven package registry. So there's a generic one where we can push anything. So these tarballs currently go to the generic registry of this project.
Sounds good. And do you think you're gonna schedule this job to run like every night or something, or?
Yeah, I think it runs like 10 a.m. every morning UTC. But yeah, a scheduled job. Yeah. So I went with UScan only because like this is what I'm familiar with. So some of you might know I actually contribute to Debian project, and this is what we use there. That is to say, I haven't done any other research on this, like if there are better tools available or like dedicated solutions which is supposed to fix dependency management issues. So in case anyone has any such knowledge, do share.
Well, I can tell you that in Fedora land, there's no automated scan. The maintainer will put the tarball into a side cache, kind of like what you're doing with the container registry. And then that tarball history will be stored, so the RPM spec stores like which one it wants, and then it'll just download that out of the cache. So the idea there is that the maintainer verifies the source code. But what I do kind of wonder is this downloader, if we can give it one more step and just download the source and its version or whatever becomes a tag we put. So instead of we mirror the Git repositories, we mirror that way. So that it's a repository, we can have a cryptographic hash that we can check out from the Git repository that we prove out. And then we turn for backup, we take each like actual release of GitLab and we do what's called a source release, where it's just a tarball of all the sources. But we take that from all the Git repositories and we keep that as our backup, as like the next iteration. Because that is one of those things that we check out a lot. Most of our stuff checks out from Git. So I feel like converting this into Git so that we match that pattern, but then turning this into like what you download from us, if you want to build from sources tarballs, you have to do a Git clone, might be the better path. I don't know how we feel about that.
So like, even if we are getting tarballs, we convert them to Git repositories so that Omnibus, GitLab, or CNG can just do Git stuff. Like it doesn't need to bother about tarballs anymore.
Correct. And the only reason I say that is that there's a decent argument to be made that we shouldn't be doing mirrors, we should be doing tarball like side caches, but it can go either way. And I think having them as repositories makes more sense from our perspective because we're using GitLab CI to build. And I'm thinking about the project I'm working on right now, which I will demo probably here in a week or 2 or 3, of building the components separately. So they just come into CNG and Omnibus, right? So we make everything follow that pattern for the component build. That might be like an iterative path forward. So everything just builds from the same way with the same frameworks. And I'm not saying it's the right path. I'm just throwing it out there for us to chew on.
Yeah, like I think it's an idea worth trying out. I just don't know like the coding involved to implement that. Like we are essentially going to manage a Git repository using a CI job. So maybe it's just easy to like delete everything in the repository, put files from this tarball, git commit, git push, and tada, you get a new git tag with contents from the tarball. Maybe it's that easy, but yeah, I think it's worth discussing. So one thing I forgot to mention earlier is I'm not exactly sure about the license related concerns when we start pushing tarballs into our registry for everyone to download. Like for stuff that bundle the license files into tarballs, I think it might be okay, but then we need to essentially verify, like, are we following all the license terms and stuff when we provide these tarballs from our infrastructure to users? So yeah, that's one thing I haven't like really done any research on or thought about.
I think that would only apply. You had mentioned, going back to something you mentioned early on, I didn't want to stop you midstream. You had said that some of the things that we download are like binary blobs. And I was not aware of anything that we shipped that was a binary blob, at least in community edition. Is there a thing we ship for EE that's about binary?
Mattermost? I think Mattermost we get a pre-built binary and we just copy that to the opt GitLab embedded bin. Like we don't build it from source. That is why we don't ship Mattermost for Raspberry Pi, because there is no pre-built binary of Mattermost for Raspberry Pi. So yeah, we like that's the one thing I can remember from the top of my head where we are using the tarball actually has a binary, not a source for us to build on top of.
Huh. I always thought it was just a pile of Ruby code, so I didn't realize there was a binary involved. I'll have to go look at that.
And I think Grafana is a mix as well, where we're only rebuilding the assets or something like that.
Yeah, the front end assets we rebuild, but the actual application code we use the binary. Yeah, that's true. Grafana might also be that.
I think then that for providing source, you may want to just only provide source for community edition. And anything that has an open source license, and just say, you know, due to license restrictions. Because yeah, that would be a thing.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like what you've done, because as you said, the waking up in the morning going, what do you mean we can't release, has been unfun over the last few months. So
Cool. So if there are no more questions or comments, I don't have anything else for the demo and we can wind up. Cool. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Paulo.
See ya. Bye.
thank you, Balu.